Hello everyone, welcome on in for the final time this week to Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, the number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube show brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. Nigel Seeley is my name and I'm joined by our senior ATP Tour handicapper, Sean Calvert. Before I introduce you to Sean, who is in Umag for the tennis, please hit the subscribe button, please hit the like, leave your comments on the show here. We'd like to hear the feedback from you. Loads of you joined us over the last month or so. Thank you very much. I think this month's going to be our highest ever number of new subscribers. Thank you for that. Please hit the subscribe if you haven't done so already. And you will join a channel that is in a bit of form. Over in Umag is our correspondent and our ATP Tour handicapper is Sean Calvert. Good morning, Sean, or good afternoon where you are.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's another, I don't know, I keep looking out there, you can't see, but it's another beautiful day here. In Umag, yeah, not the highest quality of tennis, I have to say. The field isn't that great this year, but it's still a beautiful spot. And yeah, I've got Lagan into tennis.
Wow,
I don't know how this has happened. He's watching all the match. He watched 2 matches of doubles yesterday. He's loving all this. He's getting their signatures. He waited for, I think it was about an hour while we watched Cerundolo just practicing. Yesterday, he played a practice set. It was a very long set. It went like 7-6. Lagan was just sat there with his little signature pad thing, just waiting for his signature. He's getting all the signatures of the players, and he doesn't care who they are. The doubles, some of these doubles guys, I don't even know who they are, and he's he's getting their signatures and stuff. And yeah, so it's surprising that is, but yeah, it's a great place.
Haven't you bought him one of them big tennis balls things that he signed?
I got him one of those from Indian Wells when I went there last time, but he's never shown any interest in going to any of the matches for more than about 30 seconds. So I didn't bother bringing it with me because I would have had to have obviously deflated it, then got it inflated again, and then deflated it again to take it home. As I said, he's not really shown any interest until this year, but yeah, maybe he can take on the old family business in a few years.
Yeah, be nice. We have got one match we're going to discuss over in Umag for tomorrow. It's quarterfinals already. Obviously, the matches are played in the evening time. Before we look at that match, the weather conditions you say are going to be warm. Is it going to be warm tomorrow?
Yeah.
Again, similarly.
Yeah, I think there's some thunder showers sort of forecast later in the week, but tomorrow is supposed to be about the same, around about 30 degrees. Partly sunny, pretty hot. I mean, I just been out there doing a few exercises and stuff. Within 5 minutes, you're sweating quite a lot. So it's it's hot conditions. I mean, the only info I've had as far as the players, De Jong, who played yesterday, he said it's slower here than Borstad. If that's the case, it's very slow because Borstad's about as slow as it gets. So, yeah, slow conditions, which means physical matches, which is what we'll come on to in a minute.
Yeah, the only one match we are going to discuss here, in Umag, we've got some matches in DC a little bit later on in the show, but this is our first match over in Croatia, and it is a quarterfinal match. Now, I did offer you a challenge to say that you would probably know every tennis player if you met them in the resort. I'm not sure whether prior to this week you would have known Pablo Llamas Ruiz. You might know him now, but I'd be doubtful if you knew him
I know
before
him.
This week.
I know him in the sense of him as a player, his results and all that stuff. I've watched him play numerous times, but would I recognise him if he was sort of out of context, if he was like stood next to me at the bar ordering a slimline tonic or whatever? No, I probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't, to be honest with you. No.
Well, we might know about him tomorrow because he's in quarterfinal action again against Camilo Hugo Carabello, and that's one of the matches. That's the one of the matches you want to discuss now. Bet Rivers can't really split this market. Llamas Ruiz is -105. Hugo Carabelli is -118. The spread is 1.5, and the total here is 22.5. Now, Llamas Ruiz is a player ranked 537 in the world. He has shown some great form here, though. Come through qualification. 2 matches, come through 2 main matches as well, and he looks a bit of a talent. They have met once before, which was in a challenger in 2021, which Llamas Ruiz won the first set 7-5 and 4-1 up before Hugo Carabelli retired. And there has been money for the Spaniard here in the build-up to this match. Now, I wouldn't know him. I don't know anything about him. I wouldn't recognise him if he walked past me in the street, but the man in Umag quite likes this guy ranked in the 500s to pull off what would have been a shock, but it's not so much of a shock now with these odds.
Yeah, he's ranked that low because of injury. That's the only reason he's ranked that low. He's a far better player than 500 and odd in the world. I mentioned on the Instagram yesterday when I talked about some of the matches that are being played here that Pissarro had a great chance to beat a less than fit Ugo Carabelli, and he really should have done. Break up in the final set, Pissarro, and then just collapse mentally against an opponent in Ugo Carabelli, who he was clearly on fumes. I mentioned on Instagram, I think I mentioned earlier in the week as well, it looks, when we did the outright show, it looks like Ugo Carabelli is really struggling physically. He was looking up at his box yesterday, sort of, like sometimes like Yannick Sinner does when he's got those little injuries, but he was looking up at his box, and my interpretation was, shall I carry on here after he lost the first set? He had a leg issue in Båstad, arm issue yesterday. Pissarro should have won that match. He just flat out bottled it, Pissarro, from a breakup in the final set, 3-2, I think he was. Should have won it all day long, allowed Ugo Carabelli to get off with it. And Ugo Carabelli, after the match, he said, "I was so tired after playing Saturday in Båstad. It's so hot here, but I'm happy I could win. I have a free day tomorrow, so I can rest." Now, that's not actually true. He doesn't have a free day because he's playing doubles later on today. So he doesn't have I suppose he has a free day if that's what he means, not playing singles, but he is playing doubles later on. And I can tell you, Lagan's got his Argentina shirt on, and he's going to be straight in there for a signature from Ugo Carabelli after that doubles, if he plays it, which, he may not do, because he looks nothing like fully fit. As I said before, qualifiers have got a really strong record in Umag, and Llamas Ruiz is coming back to form now after suffering what was a bad injury, not long actually after he made his first ATP Tour quarterfinal as a qualifier in Estoril. You might have been there actually in 2024. I can't remember whether you were there that year, but
yeah, I was there. Yep.
Yeah, he got to that quarterfinal. Then it was about 6 weeks later he got an injury that ended that season for him, and he didn't play again until the start of this season, which is why his ranking has dropped as low as it is at the minute. As you said, he's not dropped a set in the 3 matches here. I just feel like he's going to want this more in the circumstances of where he's been, where he's come from. The season-ending injury when he was on a high. Now he probably feels like he's back to where he was roughly a year ago, just over a year ago. And he's playing a player here that who I think would not be happy, but wouldn't be absolutely gutted if this was where his Umag journey ended, given the state of him physically. So it wouldn't actually be a shock if it's the same result or very similar result as that previous match when they played 7-5, 4-1, retired, because, as I say, Ugo Carabelli wasn't far away from retiring yesterday. It's going to be hot. It's going to be a real clay court grind in slow conditions. Does Ugo Carabelli have the physicality at the minute? I don't think he does. So I'm going to bet Llamas Ruiz to win this on the money line.
Llamas Ruiz, -105 with Bet Rivers on the money line. Straight in with an official play in Umag against an injured Ugo Carabelli. That match starts at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. No, it doesn't. It starts 10:30. The action starts at 10:30 Eastern time. So we're not quite sure the order of play yet, but the action will start at 10:30 Eastern time tomorrow. So head across to the Bet Rivers website, download the app, and make sure you follow that order of play when it comes out. But it's the quarterfinal in Umag, which we are starting with. If you like what you hear on our show, sign up for our newsletter, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. Okay, we're moving across now with 3 matches over in Washington. Quite a decent tournament where the weather there has been very, very hot, hasn't it, Sean?
Yeah, it's getting hotter as well. Let me just get that Washington up. You've done that so quickly. I'm not even on the right page here. Washington DC weather. As far as tomorrow's concerned, which is kind of when we're talking about, where have I written this actually? 33 degrees in the shade. That's the kind of ambient temperature, but it's going to feel like around about 36. That's on Thursday. One of these matches is tonight, but it's very similar conditions, but it's getting hotter. We're not going to talk about Friday because we don't know anything about it yet, but just looking ahead, it's going to be 37 in the shade on Friday. And if you add the humidity into that, it's over 40 as far as the real feel is concerned when you throw in the humidity. Very, very hot, very, very difficult conditions for the players on Friday. Not that easy on Thursday either. 33, which feels about 36. As far as the conditions are concerned, statistically, We've got some numbers in from the first 22 main draw matches that are played here. Slower so far than last year. 79% holds, 73.2% first serve points won, which is down on last year's 83% holds and 74.7% first serve points won. Now that I imagine will probably get quicker as the bigger hitters come into it, the Taylor Fritzes and these sort of guys. Obviously Shelton and Diallo, who we're going to talk about in a bit, but at the minute it just looks slightly slower. But the main point is the heat and humidity. It's it's pretty brutal out there.
We do have one match for this evening, which we'll come on to at the end of the show. The two matches we're going to start off are for tomorrow. Now, the order of players, again, isn't announced yet, but it will start at 11 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. So we have to wait and see who plays on what schedule. But the first match we are going to discuss is an American match against an American player up against a Brit, Brandon Nakashima, up against Cam Norrie. Nakashima is the -125 favourite with Bet Rivers. Cam Norrie is +102. Spread is 1.5. And total here is 23.5. These two have met each other 4 times. And Cam Norrie holds a 3-1 win advantage. The matches were played between the year 2020 and 2022. And Cam Norrie has won their last 3 meetings without dropping a set, including in the hard court in Montreal, 6-4, 6-4. Los Cabos, 6-2, 6-2 in what I would expect to be fairly similar conditions to this. Quite hot, quite humid. If you look at the record of the two coming in, Cam Norrie obviously got to the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, beaten by Alcaraz. He won 2 matches here already against Billy Harris, the Brit, and he beat Lorenzo Musetti, who was coming back from injury. And Nakashima had a good win against Quinn. The early money was for Nakashima, but the market has settled down a bit now, Sean. It's virtually a pick and match. Norrie holds the head-to-head record. Brandon Nakashima has the home support. Where do you see this going?
I don't think you can back Nakashima at minus money here.
No.
It's just a matchup thing. And I'll explain it. I mean, betting Nakashima -125 against a decent left-hander who's in good form, loves a scrap in these conditions. His record against left-handers is terrible, Nakashima. He's lost 14 of his last 16 matches at main level against left-handers. And overall in his career at main level, he's won 9 and lost 21. So he's got a 30% win rate against lefties at main level in his career. We're being asked to back him at -125 against a guy he's lost to numerous times. So his service points won and return points won total in those 30 matches against left-handers is 98.5. His statistic, the service points won and return points statistic against all players, lefties and righties combined, is 102.4. So a big drop-off against left-handers, Nakashima. Only wins 32.4% of return points against lefties, so his return of serve against left-handers is a big problem for him. And as far as the head-to-head is concerned, some of the matches are a couple of years ago, but it's just this continuing with the same theme. Struggles against left-handers. It's 109-91 in favour of Cam Norrie in terms of the service points won and return points won totals of those 4 meetings, which again is pretty overwhelming. Nakashima, again, only winning 32% of return points, which is more or less the same as he wins against every left-hander at main level. And he's only holding serve 70% of the time, Nakashima. And Nakashima's a pretty heavy server. He's not a weak server by any means. He's only holding serve 70% of the time against Cam Norrie. And Norrie, who's not a particularly big server, he's holding serve 87% of the time against Nakashima and winning 41% of return points. So the matchup looks bad, not just against Norrie, but left-handers generally. And the other factor is Norrie just loves this sort of stuff. He loves a real grind, a real sweaty battle, if you like, in hot, humid conditions. He's won Rio. Doesn't get much more hot and humid there. I know that's on clay, but even so. He won a typical Cam Norrie match yesterday against Lorenzo Musetti. Just very little in it in terms of the stats. 101-99 in terms of service points won and return points won totals. Norrie against Musetti. Norrie just edged it, but just ground it out, which is what Cam Norrie does, and he's certainly going to fancy this, given how well he's played against Nakashima before, how the matchup suited him before. So I just think it's a bad price on Nakashima. So I'm going to take the slight plus money on Cam Norrie here, yeah.
Official play?
Yeah.
Official play. 2 matches, 2 official plays. Cam Norrie is our second bet at +102. Our second match tomorrow in Washington is a match between 2 big servers. Ben Shelton up against Gabriel Diallo. I'm quite surprised that the money line is so wide here. I thought it would be a little bit closer than that. Very impressed with Gabriel Diallo in recent weeks. Minus 225 is the price for Ben Shelton, plus 175 Diallo. Diallo does lead the head-to-head 1-0. Spread here is 2.5 and total 23.5. These are big servers, these two. It starts tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern time. If you look at the record of the two of them, Shelton had a good win against McDonald. He got beat by Sinner in the quarterfinals of Wimbledon coming into this. And Diallo had chances against Taylor Fritz at Wimbledon. He got beat in round 2, and he beat Marijan fairly comfortably here in Washington as well. Two big servers, two players that, will fancy the chance to go deep in this tournament if they win this match. But I thought the odds would be a little bit closer to this. I think Diallo's a proper talented player playing the best tennis of his career.
Yeah, I think it's based on the outdoor hardcourt stats, which do favour Ben Shelton, hence the price. But Diallo's, emerged. It's happened after the early season hardcourt swing has ended, hasn't it? So if we look, this looks like one for set one overs to me. Last year, 39% of the matches here went set one over 10.5, which equates to odds of 2.55, which is basically the price on this one going over 10.5 as well. So given the serve-oriented nature of these two players, it looks, a decent price. As far as the head-to-head is concerned, return points won. It's only one match, but return points won a low 31.6 for Shelton against 33.3 for Diallo. So it's been they've played once. It's serve dominated. Given the way these two play, you would expect that sort of match again. If you look at what Shelton's done in Washington DC, he wins 32.7% of return points and 79% on first serve, which is it's not that great really. I know he did well here last year, but he was a little bit fortunate in a lot of the matches. Diallo's only played here once, 100% holds. Again, 79% first serve points won. So if you've got two guys that are serving at winning more or less 80% of their first serve points in these conditions, and when they've played each other, I know that the meeting was a little while ago, but when they've played each other, the return points won predictably low. As I said, Shelton 32, Diallo 33%. Again, if you look at what these guys have done against big servers as well, there's not much to say about Diallo because he hasn't played hardly any. He's played a couple of matches. Shelton's only won 3 of his 10 matches against big servers. The big servers I've got listed in my database anyway, and his service points won and return points won total is 96, and he's only won 27.8% of return points in those meetings. So he's struggled to break the serve of fellow big servers. 3 of those matches were like 2 or 3 years ago, so they're not that relevant. But he's lost a couple of times to Mpechi Pericard, a couple of times to Mensik in the last year. I mean, if you go in money line, I think you have to go Diallo because, as I said, this match for me is being priced on hardcourt stats, and Diallo's hardcourt stats. I think they're misleading because, as I said, he's emerged only really this kind of summer after the hardcourt stuff has been played. So I don't think his hardcourt stats are that relevant. Shelton's are relevant, and it's being priced on what Shelton's done against what Diallo's done on a hardcourt. So that's why it's priced up that way. I wouldn't be surprised if Diallo won this, but if you're getting plus 155 at Bet Rivers on set one over 10.5, given the way these two play, I would probably take it. We don't know the order of play. Obviously, if it's a night match, that makes it a little bit slower and more humid, but I think that's where you've probably got to go if you're betting in this match.
Yeah, there's 29 different markets on this match available with Bet Rivers, and the one that Sean likes is the over 10.5 games in set number 1, given their serving stats and the way they play at the moment, both in decent form. You would expect that opening set to be a cagey one and rather long. Is that another official player? Is that a lean?
It's just a lean, that one. Yeah, I don't know the order of play. It's difficult to really be that confident when you don't know if the match has been played in the full sun or in the sort of the sort of higher humidity and slower conditions of the night. But I think it's a decent price. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good lean. Yeah.
Yep. So have a look at that market with Bet Rivers on the app or on the website. And if you do have a bet on that match, you'll be able to live stream it, watch it on your tablet, your mobile device, and you'll be hopefully watching a long first set. Okay, our final match is the match this evening. So we do know the orders to play for this one. This match starts at 7:10 Eastern time. It's an All-American battle between Alexander Kovacevic and our tip for the tournament, France's Tiafoe. Tiafoe is the favourite, minus 205. Kovacevic is plus 163. 2.5 is the spread, and again, the total a little bit high at 23.5. These two have met twice before, both in America. One in this tournament last year at exactly the same stage, and both won by Tiafoe. Tiafoe won in the US Open, and he won here in Washington. Won the first at 7-6, lost the second 6-4, and then won the third 6-3. So in both of their matches, Tiafoe's edged it, but he hasn't been all one-way traffic, and the overs have collected in both matches if you bet the over total games here. What's your thoughts on this one? We are with Tiafoe to win the tournament, but this looks a tricky little test.
It does. This is going to be a really good test, I think, for Frances Tiafoe in the circumstances. Kovacevic is in good form. He's coming off a final in slow, hot, humid conditions in Los Cabos, where he beat Andrei Rublev. So he's in decent form, lost in the final to Shapovalov, but that's not going to worry him too much. He's clearly playing well. Is clearly not affected by hot and humid conditions, so that's a plus for him. Started off here, a decent win over Quentin Halys, who's not playing that well at the minute, but still a decent win for Kovacevic. So he's dialed into the hard courts at the minute, Kovacevic. Tiafoe obviously isn't. Hasn't played since what was a pretty poor grass court swing for Tiafoe. But as I've said before about Tiafoe, he turns up at the tournaments he wants to turn up in. And he most certainly wants to turn up in this one. So he will be a little bit rusty. You know, as I said, he's not played on grass. Sorry, not played on hard for quite a while. Has played on grass, coming straight from the grass. He's going to have prepared well. This is home tournament. There's no doubt about it. But you can't replicate matches. And you know, I doubt he's going to be at his best in the first match. And this is a tough one. If you look at their head-to-head, it does look close on paper, I suppose, if you're just looking at the scores. But looking into it a bit deeper, it is pretty good for Tiafoe. Service points won and return points won totals 109-91 in those two matches in Tiafoe's favour. Kovacevic struggling on return of serve. He's only winning 30% of return points on the Tiafoe serve. So that's going to be the big weapon for Frances Tiafoe in this matchup. As far as their Washington DC form is concerned, as I said, Tiafoe did struggle at the start of his career playing here because I think the whole thing just stressed him out with a home tournament and all the expectation and all the rest of it. So their service points won and return points won totals here in Washington, D.C. are the same, both on 100. Kovacevic has won 3 of his 4 matches here. So they both enjoy the conditions. They're both very, very up for this match. They met here last year. Tiafoe had to go 3 sets to win it last year. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he had to do the same this year as well, you know, given the confidence that Kovacevic has obviously got at the minute. First match for Tiafoe. I think this will be, as you suggested a minute ago, I think overs is certainly a very good option here. If you are betting in this match, you're not on Tiafoe on the outright. I would be interested in taking Tiafoe to win it 2-1, which is what he did last year. I'll be very happy and pleased if he wins this in straight sets, but I think it would be tough. So plus 270 it is 2-1 to Frances Tiafoe, or you could take the over 2.5 sets. The over games is what, 23.5? Yeah, that's
23.5. Yeah,
perhaps not wild on that line. I'd probably take the over 2.5 sets rather than that. But yeah, I think my lean here is 2-1 to Tiafoe. I think it would be it's a match that he should win, but I think it would be a very tricky test for a first match for him.
Yeah, Kovacevic in great form, got to the final, lost Cabos last week, lost to Shapovalov, but is a player that's capable of producing some decent parts of his game. Obviously, consistency is a problem for him, but Frances Tiafoe, we are hoping will win, but it might be a little bit of a struggle. There's many ways to get involved in that match there, suggested by Sean. But for us, for tomorrow, on our figures, which are around about 21.72 units in profit. So just under 22. Yesterday's bet was void. Obviously, Holmgren withdrew shock before the tournament. That very shocking. I find that very, very shocking.
Yeah.
So we're in good form. But just to go, Sean, give us your 2 official plays before we leave you.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the one in Umag, which is here tomorrow. That's Llamas Ruiz. I think he's a 1.96 chance to beat Hugo Carabelli. And I'm taking one in Washington, D.C., which is Cam Norrie at slight plus money, plus 102. I think he is to beat Brandon Nakashima.
If you want to follow Sean over in Umag and all the adventures from the Because We Win team, you can on our socials at Because We Win, nice and simple. You'll be seeing Sean running around Umag trying to get signatures of players, doubles players who are in the ranked. No one knows.
We had Marcus Willis yesterday. Remember him?
Marcus Willis. No.
You don't?
Is he the old commentator?
No, he played Roger Federer, I think, in the first round of Wimbledon about, I don't know how many years ago it was now. And he was all the rage for about 5 minutes because he played Federer. I think he might have won a set or did pretty well to start off against Federer, and then he got absolutely smoked after that. But yeah, he's still playing doubles, and he
Lagan's the first person to ask him his autograph for about 15 years.
That's what I said to Lagan. I said he would be delighted if you go and ask his autograph.
That's unbelievable.
Well, he was wearing Lagan a West Brom kit yesterday, and Marcus Willis is I think he's from the Birmingham area, so he was kind of not expecting to have someone ask him in English for his autograph wearing a West Brom kit. It was quite entertaining, but yeah.
Well, follow Sean out over in Umag at Because We're In is our social page. Lots of content coming your way here as well. Betting Weekly Live, 11 o'clock Eastern Time, followed by Betting Weekly Tennis Live at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And then at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, we hand over to Doug Kazarian and the American Handicappers for Fast Break and Hardball. And as I said earlier, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. Lots of exclusive picks on there from all the handicapping team. And we're 2-0 again this week with one more bet tonight in the Champions League. If you like what you hear on our shows, sign up for our newsletter, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. Sean, thank you very much for your time. Take care. Pleasure. Have a good day. And we're back on Sunday. We're back Sunday, are we?
I think so. Yes, we are. We're doing it's Toronto, isn't it? If there's anybody left in the draw in Toronto. Yeah.
Yep. Back looking at 1,000 event. Will you still be in Umag or will you be back in the UK then?
I will still be here then. So, yeah.
Okay. So I'll speak to you on Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the rest of the week, everybody else. Hopefully we can cash some tickets and end what has already been a fantastic winning week here on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. Take care. Speak to you all again Sunday.